And good morning. Thank you for joining us. I am Tamara Scott. You're watching Truth for Our Time, and you're listening to Truth for Our Time, however you're doing it. Webcast1live.com is how we're powered. Webcast1live.com. I'm looking at myself in the screen, and it looks kind of funny if you're watching. My big poofy hair does funny things, Ryan. Sorry about that. But and so we're gonna go on a couple of different things here. We had scheduled to talk with Joy Pullman from the Heartland Institute. She's been on this show before. We appreciate everything she always shares with us. Great information, informative. She's got her pulse on Common Core across the nation. She'll be joining us. Chuck Hurley, an attorney in Iowa, former legislator in Iowa, will be joining us, and we'll be talking about the conference that's happening right now in Iowa. It says the governor's conference on, it used to be on bowling, but it's not anymore. It's just straightforward LGBTQ youth. And so we'll be talking about that. There's a comic book here. We'll be sharing that with you. And first, we're going to talk with Kim Simac. Kim is a state director for Concerned Women for America. One hat she wears. And another hat she wears, she's quite active on the Common Core debate. And so hopefully, if we can get everybody in here together, it'll be great discussion. They may overlap a little bit. They may come and go and just be different segments. We're not sure how exactly it will work today, but in her hat as fighting the Common Core, Kim has good information for us. Shane Vanderhart, our local writer who writes for American Principles Project, as well as his own website, Iowans for Local Control, Caffeinated Thoughts, and I think 415, I'm not even sure. But anyway, he wrote an article on caffeinated thoughts, and we'll try and put that link. I don't have the chat line up here. I'll get it up here pretty soon. We'll put the link to his article. Wisconsin may have their first political victim on the Common Core. I don't say that with joy, other than we've warned politicians. We've warned our friends in elected office. They need to be paying attention. And so is Kim on the line with us, Ryan? She absolutely is. Ryan Northfield is my producer and does a great job every Wednesday of throwing a bunch of clips and information together. So joining me is Kim Simac. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. Oh, we even have a picture of you, quite lovely on the screen for those who can watch along on webcast1live.com. And Kim, you have a new feather in your cap, or a new cap to wear, as many of us do. Several hats we wear. Fortunately, they usually all are similar in their responsibilities and roles, but separate in how we do them. Kim, you were elected last night.
Yes, I was. I made it to my county board as a supervisor, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Worked hard to try to get the people out to a local election. It's hard to get people to get involved, but now I'll have to learn about a lot of local issues here in my county.
Absolutely, but we're thankful to have somebody like you who is concerned with, one, first off, parental authority over the family. Secondly, taxation and what is important and what is priority for government and what is outside government bounds. We see a lot of government waste at the county level, so we're very thrilled to have someone who's going to be careful with the taxpayer dollars. But third, there's a lot of authority that happens in the county and the Christian heritage that we have in this nation and what makes us stand strong and continue today. So thank you for serving in that capacity. And it is hard to get people out to local issues. But right here in Iowa, I do have to note, Earlham School District bond issue was defeated last night for the second time, I think, within a year. People are getting so tired of being badgered by school districts and cities wanting more money and more money and more money. And finally, second year in a row, Earlham people said no, and the no vote is rising. The yes vote is diminishing, and hopefully they won't have to keep funding it and keep continuing on in election issues there. Hopefully those who are elected to the school board there will listen and no longer punish and push this on the people of Earlham. And so, Kim, the reason I called you last night when I found out that you had won your election, and congratulations, was I'd seen the article from Shane Vanderhart that we may have our first political victim, and two of them are coming from Wisconsin, we think. Can you give us some details on that?
Certainly. We did have the announcement yesterday for Representative Castile, lower part of the state, who's going to retire. And he has been working very closely On the education committee, he is in the state of Wisconsin, but he's been working very closely with Senator Olson, who is the head of the education committee. Together, they are both Republicans, and they have worked extremely hard to stop any sort of negative Common Core information getting out there or getting its time on the floor of the Capitol. We worked all last year to get some hearings that they basically were totally ignoring until finally the governor said that he would like to have these hearings, and we did get them. But meanwhile, the whole state, we worked hard like everybody did across the country to try to wake up the people, to ask our educators what's going on with this. Doesn't anybody see what's inside this Trojan horse? And these two gentlemen worked as hard as they possibly could against us. And, very, very upsetting. But what did happen at the caucuses, the Republican caucuses in the state, two districts, came out with a very large, overwhelming amount of majority for a no confidence vote on them. So that was, I'm sure, publicly very embarrassing, and for politically, I think that's probably a good idea to maybe say you're going to not run. How are you going to get reelected when your party in your district isn't even supporting you? So, yes, I guess it's the first set of casualties. I'm not sorry to see him go over this. I think he's a good man on a lot of issues, and he's been there for a while. He's good on pro-life issues, and I don't know him personally, so I certainly can't say. I'm sure he's a very good man, but somehow this Common Core mess tangles so many people in. I don't understand. There is a big conflict of interest with Senator Olson. His wife is one of the heads of CISA in the state. And we've been trying to flush that out for a while. I mean, how can he be making such decisions to promote a product that his wife is getting monetarily paid to promote? So, I mean, we have a real problem with him, too. Unfortunately, he's not up for election this cycle, so and the state is very tired of recalls. So that's kind of a synopsis of where that's going. I mean, there's not a lot of love loss at this point for either of them, unfortunately, and it's kind of sad because I'm sure that they have a lot of great things in their career that were very admirable. But right now, there's a lot of grassroots people like me and regular Republicans that have just had it. So that's kind of where that stands.
Well, and as we said, we are warning our friends who are in office. This is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. These are, correct me if I'm wrong, two Republicans, correct?
Yes.
And so this is not one side against the other. And if you have a good legislator, like you're saying, we hate to see them go. It's just unfortunate that they're not hearing the people, that they're not understanding the depth of what is coming with the Common Core. It is not just simply a set of standards, and it was never state-led. So we have to be careful here. As your director of Concerned Women for America, you're a nonpartisan organization. But
right.
But here's the warning to every elected official out there. Wake up, pay attention to your people, because there's consequence. And so, Kim, what would you say to everybody else who's around the nation thinking that they can push this off and quiet the people speaking out against it?
I mean, I know that you're on the front of the battle, too. And, I'm just thinking here with my own school district that I'm at odds with right now. What can we do? I mean, when you've got all the administrators coming to the hearings and promoting it like it was the best thing since sliced bread, when you've got the teachers all saying that they haven't seen anything as great as Common Core, which makes you wonder how they taught before it. I mean, I don't know how we convince everybody that we need out there, the common folks, the parents of the kids, to get involved and really fight this. I mean, in 1 year's time, we really have made it into a front issue. I know 1 year ago when we were just all trying to scratch our heads and figure out where this was coming from as we went digging into it. But now, we have made it a big issue. But I still, like here in my town with a conservative superintendent, I fight it. He's lockstep with it. This hard anti-Common Core onto the school board. They made sure that she did not get on. What do we do? I don't have the answer. Sometimes it's very frustrating when I always tell people too, I think one thing that we're really lacking is great leadership. Leadership comes from within people, and I think it's blessed by God. And we truly have to find the people that are courageous and have that real connection with Him to get out and lead all of this, because I think we're really up against a big brick wall here with Common Core. I don't know, and unfortunately, guess who's going to suffer? The ones that they tout all the time are the ones that they're so concerned about, which is the kids. And and like you said too in the beginning, opening them, I just kind of had a smile because we can't get a referendum around here to not pass. I don't know how to make people stop seeing that the more money we keep throwing at these schools, the more free reign we're just giving them in control to have the future of our kids just totally molded in their hands. And I'm not saying there's plenty of excellent teachers, excellent administrators, just really good people, but I don't understand how come something I can see so clearly in my mind and I see right in front of me that they totally are disregarding.
Absolutely. Kim Simac is my guest right now, and I have put up on the chat line, Webcast One chat line, if you want to join in with that, a couple of different links. One to Shane Vanderhart's article about Wisconsin having the first two possible political victims being on the wrong side, supporting Common Core. And I also put up the Fox article as well, which quotes quite heavily our next guest, Joy Pullman. So, Kim, you are welcome to stay on the line for as long as you can. I know you have grandbabies around the house and other things pulling at your attention, and I can hardly compete with grandbabies. But you're welcome to stay on as long as you can, and I'm going to welcome Joy into the conversation.
Hi there. Can you hear me all right?
I can, and thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate always your information that you bring to the conversation. You were quoted quite heavily in the in the article I just mentioned from Fox News about the possible political weight. I don't know if you heard the conversation with Kim talking about the two possible victims and Republicans. Unfortunately, for me, because I feel that they usually have the lesser push for federal control and for big government and big tax dollars. So I hate to see that coming, but we've warned them, Joy. We've gone to our friends and said, please pay attention to the people.
The same thing is happening here in Indiana, where I live, and in New York City, and even New York State right now, which of course is not really a Republican stronghold. It's people from all political persuasions coming together and saying, this is something we want, and you're supposed to be our elected representatives. Pay attention to us. This is what we think is best for our kids. Stop ignoring us and start listening to us. That's your job. That's the reason that we, elect you in the first place. And in Indiana here, as well as I hear in Wisconsin, where I grew up, the lawmakers who aren't listening, they're getting primaried, and they're getting sanctioned by, their parties. And in New York, the people have started this, they've started this slogan that says it's called Remember in November. So, of course, time will tell. That's really, I think, what lawmakers are waiting for, is to see whether this actually will hurt them. They're thinking that, we're going to calm down, this is going to fade as an issue, and that they can just keep on going about their business with the less scrutiny than they've been getting. And time will tell whether that's what happens.
And so let's talk about New York. You mentioned New York. Let's talk about what they're calling Cuomo's Common Core.
Yeah.
You, who is it that's running against him now? Rob Estorino?
I honestly don't know.
Newly announced Republican opponent for governor has made getting rid of what he calls Cuomo's Common Core one of his top priorities. In his video announcing his run, he said it's been a disaster for parents, teachers, and children alike. This could be, is it possible? Do you think it's possible? When I look at the Facebook page for New York Against Common Core, my goodness, I think I saw 10,000 members.
Well, not only that, I was just talking to one of the grassroots organizers down there last night and this morning. They are compiling a list of the families who are opting their kids out of Common Core tests this spring. This morning when I checked at 8 a.m. Eastern, that number was 25,000 kids. That's compared to 320 kids who opted out last year. this has totally exploded. And I mean, I know people are bean counting and so forth, but the amount of anger, 25,000 people across New York State saying my kid's not going to take those tests, even in face of having to argue with school administrators and having to deal with their kids sometimes being forced to what they call sit and stare. So the kid is placed in front of the computer screen to take the test, and the child is required to sit there during the whole time that the test is given and not answer anything if that is his choice. But he can't, read in the library or, go home or anything. Even though the kids are being punished in many cases for, behaving this way or having their parents opt them out, they're still choosing that many thousands of people. And the mom that I've been talking to over there, she says that she expects thousands more to be on the tally because they have not counted some of the biggest school districts that they've been working with.
So 25,000 kids. Wow. That just amazing. That's a movement. So when we see the test being changed, David Pullman changing the entrance exams for college, it may not matter. We hear it. And in fact, Kim, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
We were talking about what can we do. This is a fairly grassroots, and I think, Joy, you might have been the one to call it a grassroots, even compared to the AstroTurf movement of the Common Core. But this is such a grassroots movement. We don't know exactly who our leaders are because it's everyone rising up. There's not, we don't have, it's not a party in itself. It's not even a coalition. It's parents when it hits the classroom saying, not my child.
Yes.
And so here's the hope, I think, for both of you. From what we're hearing with Joy saying parents are pulling their children out, I look back to Phyllis Schlafly. Is that a name you both recognize?
Yes.
I just heard her speak last fall. It was incredible. It's always incredible when Phyllis speaks. For those of you who don't know, she's the head of Eagle Forum. She's an attorney. She's brilliant. I
really admire her.
Oh, if we could have her.
I hear that she raised 6 kids while she was doing everything that she was doing, and as a mom of 3 little kids under 4, that's really an inspiration.
I bet.
Because some days it's really hard.
I bet. Well, as feminists were discussing whether or not to wear lipstick in the office, Phyllis Schlafly was talking about Supreme Court justices and dealing with the real issues of the day. And so she's the one who took on the Equal Rights Amendment of its day after it had already been embedded in several, I think in the 30-some states were already pro equal rights amendments. Governors, Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. We're waiting to be first in line to sign on and say, we're supporting the Equal Rights Amendment. And here was this woman saying, not a good idea. And I think back, ladies, she did not have the internet where you can reach out and touch millions. She didn't have videos to go viral. She didn't have Twitter. She didn't have any of that. She had a telephone. That's all she had. And she was able, being down for the count, to come back and beat the ERA. And if she could do that with no electronic devices that we enjoy today, we've got parents rising up all over this nation. When I look through the Facebook pages, Stop Common Core, just a couple months ago when we started doing this program, there would be 100 or 1,000. Now there's 10,000, there's 2,000, there's 5,000. This is definitely going to be an election issue. And Kim, like we talk, it's sorry. We hate to see good politicians go. Wish they would have listened. So I think, Ryan, can we take a break here? Seems like a good spot. I'm going to try and run up a video of Mike Cormack here at our state subcommittee hearings we had on Common Core when he boastfully said, he's a Department of Education employee, and he boastfully said, we don't have any data breaches in Iowa. Interrupted Jane Robbins' testimony, treated all of the Common Core people there, the anti-Common Core people, with such disrespect and disdain. Called Henry Burks, or one of the other, I think maybe, I can't think of his name, came and spoke for us, called his testimony a rant, just totally disrespectful. I'll see if I can get that queued up during the commercial. We'll come back and play that, and we're going to talk about the data breach, the transfer, the correlation between bullying bills and anti-common and Common Core legislation coming through our states. Both will expand federal control over your schools and state control over your children. We'll get into that right after this. I'm Tamara Scott. This is Truth for Our Time on webcast1live.com. Thank you for staying tuned.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am Administrative Manager
I am the Senior Technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
And good morning. I am Tamara Scott. We are working in behind here in the scenes, trying to get everything lined up for you because I keep adding to the mix. Poor Ryan, I keep adding to the mix. Do we have the link of Mike Cormack? Do you want to go to that? And then after Mike, do we have the links? Oh, you are so good. Okay, let's go to the links and then we'll bring Joy back after we show this. We're starting at 2:10 in this video of Mike Cormack's testimony. Actually, it wasn't even a testimony. He interrupted one of the speakers on behalf of Representative Cindy Winkler, who interrupted one of our speakers so that he could speak. Let me clarify that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Data. We have seen these emails going all over the place on this particular topic. Again, I simply say, and hi Shane, as you're taping, please share one example in Iowa of a security breach of data by the Iowa Department of Education. Please share that real example. There's a lot of talk about, I've heard about the NSA leaking information.
Let's stop it there.
I've heard about national items.
We may want to come back, but he very boastfully, it reminded me of all we heard about the Titanic before it sailed, how unsinkable it was, how it was, you know, we'd outsmarted God and everybody else. We were never going to have a sink, the possibility of sinking with that. But at 2:10 in this video, and I will go ahead and upload this video on the chat line for Webcast 1 at this point, and you can go ahead and watch that if you wish. He says, we've never had one in the Department of Education. All right, and Jane Robbins, who was supposed to be testifying, made the comment, you haven't had the Smarter Balance Testing Consortium yet. When you put that much data online, you likely will. And she's correct. We didn't have it yet. But within 24 hours of him making this statement, do we have the link? Urbandale School hacked. Urbandale School District, within 24 hours, the very next morning, actually it may have happened that same day, but it was reported the next morning, they had hackers come in and put pornographic material and photos on their state school website. I assure you, if people can hack and put information in, they can hack and take information out. And so while it might not have been Department of Education, it was a school district. School districts are where the information will be harvested from your students. So the same information will be at risk, whether it's sitting in the Department of Education's computers or whether it's in the school systems themselves. And so, Ryan, do you have that link that we can pop that up on screen quick?
I actually was only able to get the DHS one on.
Oh,
WHO.
no problem.
Yep.
No problem. No problem. And I can put that on the screen for our webcast viewers. We'll put that up. And then also, University of Northern Iowa had okay, so here's another state government organization, the DHS, Department of Human Services. 2,000 Polk County residents had very sensitive information taken, somehow exposed, somehow placed in danger. So there's one from your department organization. The other one, as I mentioned, Urbandale High School, and then the other one is University of Northern Iowa, which had already happened by this date. Now, of course, they're not Department of Education, but again, it's a state-funded school, and in that instance, several faculty members had their identities stolen, and they were not even allowed to upload or file their own tax returns one of the years because things were so mixed up with their personal, sensitive information. All right, let's bring Joy Pullman back if we can. Kim, are you still online?
Yes, I'm still here.
You have any thoughts on this part of the data collection that we're harvesting out of our students or plan to with Common Core?
It's what's really tragic about it is what can be done with it. And, you know, we're in an age, it's kind of a difficult age because this information is available via the internet from our own homes. But why do our schools have to be the tool to do this to our kids? And, you know, a lot of times I wonder what our kids are thinking about what's happening to their futures. They don't have any choice here right now about what's happening to their privacy, what they're being forced to learn, the beliefs that they're being, persuaded to accept. It's like they have no say in their future, who they are going to become.
You're absolutely correct. Joy Pullman, your thoughts on the video that we played, if you could hear that, and data breaches.
Hi there, Tamara. I was actually just thinking about Jane Robbins and I are working on a big paper along with Emmett McGroarty about this very issue. And so I was trying to think what the source was, but there's one source that we found that tracks the data breaches that governments in the United States, state governments in the United States or federal governments in the United States. So you can toggle a little thing there to look at the number of education data breaches since I think about 2005, or maybe it's 2008. But, I think about 7 years now of data. So if you click that, of course, it changes every day because it's continually updating. But there are there are hundreds of thousands of kids whose data so far in this country in just the past couple of years has been breached by hackers, by school officials that aren't very well trained, so on and so forth. So when your state Department of Education officials are telling you this is safe and this is secure, there won't be hackers and so on and so forth, that shows that they're really ignorant about of data privacy, about hacking we live in 2014, and in the future, because there are hundreds of thousands of people that this happened to. Basically like the way that Jane puts it, if it's collected, it is not safe. The only way to really secure kids' information is to restrict the information that we collect about them. Because, number of leading security experts that we have, read for the paper, as well as this just came out. So there's a kind of regular poll of what they call the education insiders by this organization called Whiteboard Advisors. So their recent one, I think it was for February, maybe it was for March, but the most recent one that came out, depending on the month, was looking at this issue of data security. And almost all of the folks that they poll agree that this is a huge issue and that state lawmakers are so far behind the times that we live in that we're just really waiting for something big and terrible to happen because lawmakers don't think that it's a problem and it's going to happen. And then finally they're going to get going after kids' identities have been compromised, after their information has gotten out, because that's really what it takes lawmakers to move. But the sad thing is that you have all these parents screaming at them, protect my kids' information, and they're not going to listen to parents before something bad happens. Instead, they're going to wait, until something bad happens to then react and probably enact bad legislation, because you know how reactionary how reactionary behavior, you know, how inappropriate it tends to be and so forth. It won't be measured, it won't be deliberate, it won't be, you know, considered sort of legislation that actually protects what parents are demanding that lawmakers protect.
And how many children did you say have already had sensitive information breached?
The number's in the hundreds of thousands, so it's not tens of thousands. I mean, if you want, I can look that up for you and do the email, but I can't quote it right now because I haven't worked on the paper. We're waiting for our peer reviewers to get back to us.
Hundreds of thousands. And I know when this first came out, it was sensitive information, Social Security numbers. What we want people to understand, this is not the academic information that parents are used to having.
Right.
This is sensitive. And can you give us some ideas of what might be asked or what might be collected in some of that data?
Yes. And now I'm smiling because the alternative is, you know, crying or running around, tearing my hair out. But if you look, the federal government actually has given states, it's called the National Education Data Model. They've given states a model or a suggestion for an infrastructure to use of the types of data that schools could be collecting. So that's where you hear this 400 points of data figure coming from. It's this model from the federal government to states, and it includes things such as bus stop times, it includes blood type, it includes family religion, it includes income. I mean, of course, it includes the student's entire class schedule. So if you have a stalker get a hold of that sort of thing, or God forbid, I mean, I don't want to put in ideas into people's heads, but just think about, you know, the mayhem that you can have if some creepy person knows certain kids' bus schedules and their class schedules and so forth. This is dangerous stuff. I mean, even if you know, cut out the really incendiary sort of stuff like blood type and family religion and, whether the family's voting status, probably whether they're registered to vote. So very sensitive stuff that the government should have no interest in or involvement with, if it, whatever. And here's the federal government saying to states, here, we'll give you a template for when you set up your data systems, you know, here, use ours.
So, Kim, what's your thoughts on some of this?
Well, like I said, I mean, I think it's really difficult because of the changing times that we're living in. So many people are just accepting all of this as the norm, that there's really nothing we can do. These are changing times. This is what's going on. But that's not the way that it should be. You know, our kids should still have certain level of privacy. And when things, you know, we do talk about that things could be bad with a dangerous person, but it's dangerous too to let other people have this sort of information that can be used either against a child or a family, or used to categorize a child's future. I mean, there's so many ways that this can be used in the wrong hands or in somebody's hands that's looking to do something with you know, information. We know that campaigns look for information and can stereotype people from magazines they read and things like this. Well, I mean, we're talking about kids that are so easily can be pliable and used and made into something that possibly is not what they want to choose as a free American. That's what concerns me. So it's concerning on all levels, and it's amazing to me that some people just think that it's not a big deal. I don't understand that the hundreds of thousands of teachers in this country, are all of them on board with all of this? And do none of them see it? That's why I don't see, you know, there are some small coalitions of teachers speaking out. But I mean, I honestly think when I'm going to write a paper, I think the next one I'm going to write, because I do get to get some things out sometimes, is are teachers the most bullied people in America? Because are they that afraid for their jobs or afraid of the environment that they're in that they can't speak out their own minds? I wish we could get a coalition of teachers going that would try to liberate teachers.
Good word, Joy. I know one of the news outlets said 70% of NEA members, teachers, are now against the Common Core. Do you have information on that?
No, I haven't seen that figure. I typically see. Of course, the polls are done by people who support Common Core and they're for the purpose of pushing Common Core. So Neil McCluskey at the Cato Institute has actually done a really good kind of analysis of the deeper level data of many of these polls. And what it tends to show is that when people know about Common Core, especially when they get both sides of the issue, they tend to be, you know, the split is slightly against Common Core. So more folks tend to be against it than for it, even when they're given a really good sounding description of it by the pollster and so on and so forth. And also, if you look at these polls of teachers, what they tend to be saying is, Sure, I think in the abstract that it's probably a good thing for kids. And of course, they're getting that sort of information from everyone around them. But also, what they do say, the negative thing that they tend to say is, but I do not know how to do it. I'm not being supported as a teacher. I'm not being, given the materials. I'm not being given the training to redo everything the way that I need to be doing it, that they're telling me to redo it. So while teachers will give kind of, well, they'll say, sure, yeah, I support Common Core. But they will say, if this thing that I'm being asked to do, I am not being given the things that I need to be able to do it well for kids. I mean, and we're in year 4 of Common Core rolling out to schools, right? So if teachers by now are still saying 4 years later, we can't do this thing, that's 4 years of kids' lives have been going through their classrooms in the middle of tumult. Where the teacher is not understanding what's going on, where everything is changing for her. And I mean, that's a real loss of instruction for those children simply because someone decided that they wanted to socially re-engineer the entire nation's school system.
All right. Now we've kind of touched on, and Kim, you brought it in, the bullying that must be happening and the bullying that's happening actually on this issue. And we've had video where parents have been arrested because they've asked questions to school boards about Common Core. We've had people, I've had guests on this show. One man was called something with a Nazi from a teacher because he asked questions about an assignment that was aligned to Common Core. So we've seen the bullying coming, but I also want to hit this at another level. There seems to be a great similarity. I did a show a couple weeks ago with Linda Harvey from Mission America and Dawn Stefanowicz, who wrote the book Out From Under. Dawn was raised in the home with a homosexual father. Both ladies have a great insight into the homosexual agenda that's been taking place over this nation for the last 3 decades. And they brought out, to me, the similarities between the bullying legislation we now seeing being pushed through, foisted on, forced through states throughout the nation in a very similar or parallel fashion as the Common Core being forced and pushed through many states without parents even knowing about it, not understanding fully what it is, nor the depths. Both seem that they will increase federal control over local school districts. I think it was Linda Harvey, maybe it was Dawn, who said that now in Minnesota there is a school district where Department of Justice, Eric Holder, those folks who don't have time to uphold DOMA or other laws that are in place, are now taking the time to implant themselves, insert themselves, and have oversight over a Minnesota school district. So we're seeing an increase in federal control over the school districts, but Dawn warns that it will be an increase of state control over your children.
Well, here's the thing that everybody needs to know about these bullying bills. First of all, data from the federal government shows that bullying has been on the decline for the past decade. So you have the media hyping this up, kids killing themselves, so on and so forth. And nobody wants to be flip about terrible things happening. But look, this world is a bad and evil place and bad things happen. But because a child is torturing, herself and her mind does not mean that this is this is a thing happening everywhere across the country, spreading everywhere. These are isolated. These are decreasing incidents. And so what these radical activists you're talking about are doing is using this proper concern over, very sad children and using it as a vehicle to get their agendas that most parents would not agree with put into schools, put into law, and so on and so forth. So they cloak themselves with anti-bullying, and nobody is in favor of bullying, right? Nobody. But what people, but so then they pretend, we're going to stop bullying when they're pushing all these agendas. So, for example, New Jersey is one of the states that furthest along with this. The state passed this draconian, probably unconstitutional law that requires, school administrators to have all these meetings and fill out all this paperwork for every single incident where one child feels that he or she, it basically has a bad day. I don't know about you, but I have toddlers. They have a bad day about every 30 seconds. And if we had to sit down and have a meeting and write paperwork, about it, I would never get kids educated, right? If I were a teacher and had to do that in school. So what is happening is the schools have to hire all these extra personnel that are really literally doing nothing else but passing paperwork, but the end result is no fewer kids bullied in the state. You know, you see all this action, all this motion, same thing with Common Core, all these teachers being retrained, all these schools buying new textbooks, all this activity, but the activity is not actually solving the problem. More kids are not on net learning, more kids are not on net having less bullying, and so on and so forth. And in fact, I just heard about a study in New Zealand that found the most effective thing to reduce bullying and have kids pay attention in school was to end recess rules. They took away all, I mean, this sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. They took the rules away from kids at recess. As long as they were not hurting each other, they could do whatever they want, climb trees, roll tires around, you know, throw balls at each other, play in the dirt. And essentially bullying ended at that school. There's a university study there just wrapping up. But what it really shows is that, you know, they're doing the opposite of what we're doing in the name of anti-bullying. They're giving kids freedom, letting them explore, letting them do risks, and letting them get some of their wiggles out. And that's really far more effective than all these re-education therapy sessions and calling everybody's parents in to file paperwork and having, you know, paperwork filed every time someone's feelings are hurt. So the bullying agenda in this country is not really, I mean, in total, a way to reduce harm that children do to other children. The effective thing, of course, is not what accomplishes the radical agenda. So they don't want to do the effective thing. They don't really care about stopping bullying in schools. They care about using sad children as poster kids for their radical agenda rather than helping those kids, helping kids and reduce the pain that they're feeling.
Joy, we're going to go to break here, but I want to come back and follow up on this. Kim, can you hang around or do you need to go?
I'm going to go, but I just wanted to say on that real quick that, you know, if you can strip away the freedom of young children to behave the way they want and put them into a certain type of straitjacket in a way, then you can control their behavior. And I think that's what's going on. I mean, they want to control our kids and control everything that they think and do and what they learn, and then they'd be better citizens in some people's minds, or, you know, molded. So, I mean, robots. I think this is the slip, I believe, into a real crash course into socialism, and that's where this country's heading. I mean, this country's there.
And unfortunately, we have both, as we saw with Common Core, Kim, we have both Republicans and Democrats in elected office who don't see the right side of this. And we've got to go to a break here. When we come back, we'll maybe have some JPEG photos of a comic book. And, Ryan, maybe we can play the clip of the bully on the Senate floor. All right. Joy, we'll look forward to joining you back in just 2 minutes. Kim, thank you for your time today. Kim is with Concerned Women for America out of Wisconsin. She's now a county supervisor as well in her area. And fighting the Common Core, where we have possibly 2 of our first victims falling on Common Core. Thank you. We'll be right back. Truth for Our Time. I'm Tamara Scott, powered by webcast1live.com.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Hi, I am Tamara Scott. This is Truth for Our Time. Thank you for joining us. We've been talking with Kim Simac from Wisconsin, State Director for Concerned Women for America. Her work on the Common Core and the fact that they may unfortunately have two of the first victims who didn't listen to the grassroots on Common Core and received a no confidence from their own congressional districts. Unfortunate to see good people go down, but it's happening, and we may have a few more happening as well. Here in Iowa, we had legislators who heard us because they did throw a few bills our way, let them come to committee before they killed them, let them come to the House before they knew it would die in the Senate, but unfortunately didn't quite listen yet. And so we'll turn up the volume, see if we can get some actual authentic response from them, and hopefully save their political careers as well if they're good legislators. So that's one of the issues. I'm going to flip now because we're also talking with Joy Pullman, and she is excellent in the issue of Common Core, the issues of data breaches, transfers, the data collection that will be happening over students. But we slipped into the parallel between the movements of the bullying, the anti-bullying movement, which is a LGBTQ movement, and the Common Core, paralleling as they go through the states, being forced through state legislators for some reason, somehow, against the will of most parents, most taxpayers. And you just heard from Joy, these programs don't work, and what was working in New Zealand. But we're going to play, if we can, Ryan, a very quick clip, Senate floor here in Iowa. This is Senator, is it Robert Hogue, Democrat from Lynn County. All right, go ahead.
You had a few ideas to, in your view, make the bill better. Okay? You lost that. By the way, your amendment did a whole lot more than just add 4 words. It gave administrators immunity for not doing anything.
We quiet it down there because what you don't hear is the swearing that took place later. And you can kind of see his growing anger, his growing animosity, his disdainful behavior of his fellow Senate colleagues. But we took out the verbiage of his rant where he starts swearing about superintendents sitting on there, and you can fill in the blank. Joining me in studio is Chuck Hurley. Chuck is an attorney, and he's also a former legislator here in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Chuck, you were in the House, the other chamber. But is this common treatment of colleagues in the Senate?
Tamara, as you know, the pro-homosexual group has achieved some victories in Iowa through the Supreme Court and even through Senator Gronstal in the legislature. And so they are feeling their oats. They feel like they're in charge. They're king of the hill. And so, as you well know, tolerance was the cry until they got to the top of the hill. And now intolerance is the cry. You either kowtow to our way of thinking, or you're, as it says in this comic book, poisonous freaks and should be shut up. So they've achieved a victory over the last several decades. And yes, legislators who are on that side of the philosophical divide are getting very belligerent, no doubt about it.
And I don't know if you heard Joy Pullman in our last segment talking about what works and what doesn't work, but we have Eagle Forum. We talked about Phyllis Schlafly earlier in this show, but I'll mention her again. The organization put out an article. There's a study, I believe, the Journal of Criminology. Anti-bullying programs do not work. In fact, they cause and create more peer-to-peer victimization, and students were committing suicide after having gone through these programs. They're so dark, they're so depressive, they're not helpful. And so the anti-bullying legislation is not helping, but what it is doing is increasing, as we said in the earlier segment, the federal reach and authority over your school district, and as Don Stefanowicz warned you, the authority over your children, what they say, what they think, what they hear, what their opinions are. That bill, what Senator Hogue was remarking about, it gives superintendents authority outside school premises, outside school activities, over cyberspace, what may or may not be said, over our children. That's the losing of our authority to the state.
Well, Tamara, as you know, some parents have abdicated their parenting.
Sure.
And so the statists are quick to pick up on that. And so we are in a tug of war, and my admonition to every parent is parent your children. Take responsibility. Understand what's going on in your kid's school, whether it's in your home, school, private school, or public school. Understand what's going on in it and participate. And so, yeah, the statists will always want more power and more money.
And I would say that don't punish parents who are parenting because of the few who are not.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's now the assumption, is that the state can parent better than parents can parent.
Joy Pullman, are you joining us?
I'm here. I can hear and see you.
Okay, very good. I know you didn't get to hear the clip because we had to kind of let you go while we played that clip of the senator swearing at fellow colleagues on the floor for simply not increasing the authority of school superintendents outside school bounds, off school premises. The other concern is in this bill, it's not simply what is done by a student or said by a student, it's how another student may or may not hear it. And, and so that is a whole new realm. Have we ever had a crime before that the person being charged really wasn't the one, it was the one, the accuser has all the rights here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this is creating or fostering or further cultivating the victim mentality that we already have attacking our country, right? Where you're encouraging children to feel badly because they get attention, they get power over other kids by accusing other kids of making them have, you know, a bad hair day or something. I mean, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education has been really on top of this in college campuses. That's their focus, higher ed, not K-12. But the same thing is happening in K-12 as higher ed. These speech codes that repress student free speech, their ability to think and talk and say what they believe. And I mean, education is supposed to be a place where we compare ideas, you know, where we sift through the ideas and the things that people think. And really what is happening as you know, if we tie that in earlier, in the name of tolerance, you know, everyone now has to be intolerant. No, everyone has to be, and we're teaching kids to suppress their thoughts and their feelings because it might offend someone. And what that basically does is rewire the way that they think. I mean, this is, long been, a tool of propagandists. They have known that the less that people feel free to speak, the more they start self-censoring. And we're really teaching our kids to self-censor because if they do things that make other people uncomfortable, you know, then they get in trouble at school. They have parents and teachers all breathing down their backs and making them fill out forms and sit in corners.
And Joy, you just hit something right on the head. I'll put it up to the screen. I think I gave you this one, Ryan. You can see it says Governor's Conference. It used to be an anti-bullying conference. Now it just says on LGBTQ youth. It's just straight up promotion of LGBTQ youth. And this is a schedule. You can go online and see some of the topics there. But at that conference, they handed out this comic book by Matt Sinovic, Elaine Marie. You can visit mightymoxie.com. I don't recommend it necessarily. This is not a promotion of it in any way, but I just want you to know what your children are being faced with when Joy says they're being taught to self-sensitize. Ryan, do we have a picture of the page where they talk about the belief book? Let's put that up on the screen, Joy. I don't know if you can see that. The bottom right-hand corner, they're talking about this. What you've got there, kiddo, a school assignment. It's a belief book. The next page, Ryan, can we go to that one where it says, it's, okay, not that one, right next page, it's like a journal. We record our values, and I may not have sent this one to you. It says, we record our journal. We record our values or something then and turn it in at the end of the year. Oh, that's wonderful. Beliefs are so important. They make up everything that you are. If we write down our beliefs, we'll just get picked on by the bulls, and then they bring in someone by the name of Bull Voon Plotz, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Joy, Chuck, either one of you, you just talked about censoring students. What is this journal we're going to turn in every year of our beliefs?
They're making kids commit thought crimes, for Pete's sake. I mean, don't even think the things that we don't agree with because, you know, wow, then you're committing a thought crime. What kind of, I mean, this is America, people.
Tamara, Bill Bennett said it when he was Secretary of Education. He said that throughout the millennia, education is more than just facts and knowledge. It is, quote, the architecture of the soul, unquote. And we know that values and beliefs can be, should be, always are being taught. The question is, what are those values? And so there is a spiritual battle going on, and it's between good and evil, Christ and Satan. And Christians have a duty to make disciples, to teach Christian values and beliefs. And Satan works his will as well, and he teaches anti-Christian beliefs and values. And so really what we've got is a spiritual war at heart. And frankly, the enemy is winning that spiritual war in America's government-funded schools right now. That doesn't have to remain the case. There can be revival. Parents can take more responsibility. Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Christian parents have now removed their children from the public schools because the enemy is winning that war of values and beliefs. So, you know, there's a fight within the public schools. There's alternatives outside the public schools, but parents ultimately have to wake up and step up and parent their children. That's really the answer here. I don't think that we're going to be able to change the teachers' union and their ilk and their values anytime soon in the public schools. I really don't think that's going to happen.
And we want to talk about the savings accounts, and you have an update on that for us, Chuck. But I'm going to take this further, Joy. And I don't have the link. I didn't think about bringing that in. There's a story. Condoleezza Rice was to speak at one of the universities. And now they're saying that she can't speak. They don't want her to speak. And I bring this up because she's not known as a far right, a right-wing conservative. No. She's a Republican. This is true. And so I bring this up because this is what, if the GOP is to succeed, needs to understand that it's not just the right wing. It's not just the conservative. It's not just the Christian that will be silenced. It's all of us who don't agree with whoever seems to be in charge. And we're going to lose the republic, in my opinion, because a democracy, the ruler makes law. In a republic, it's the rule of law. Everyone is in submission to the law. And so we're going to be under someone else's rule if we don't get this taken care of. And we see this when a Condoleezza Rice is now being pushed, that the invitation is receded and she's not invited. And so I want to bring this up because I'm going to show you the latest. He's not the latest victim. Last year at this conference, they named him by name, along with Jan Michelson, another local radio commentator, a talk show host, and had workshops on those two individuals. Now you have, Ryan, if you want to show that cartoon of Bull von Plotz, however you want to name it, we have Bob Vanderplatz, who is the head of the family leader. And as a disclaimer for you, I work with the family leader on some level. I'm an independent contractor, but they're one of the clients I work with. Bob Vanderplatz has spoken up on the judge issue when the judges overstepped their bounds on marriage in Iowa. He's spoken up on family traditions. And this book takes him apart. Ryan, if you can go to the next page where he looks angry and heading over a child and the I think I sent this one to you. It's several little screens together, and he says, they're misguided freaks poisoning our society. I have never heard Bob Vanderplatz say anything like that. I have not.
This is clearly slanderous, and you and I have talked earlier today, Tamara, about the legalities. It's very difficult to win a slander case, but clearly this is slander. It's bullying by Matt Sinovic and the proponents of LGBTQ. So, you know, how does the Christian respond? Bob has been very, turn the other cheek, and he prays for his enemies. He doesn't return evil for evil. And we can't either. However, what we do need to do, as you've alluded to several times, is we need a Judeo-Christian ethic so that we can have freedom of speech. What we've got right now in the government schools is a lack of freedom of speech. It's their way or the highway. And so if we want to have freedom, if we want to have discourse, we're going to have to return to Judeo-Christian values of genuine tolerance.
And Chuck, we're not going to have time to go to English savings accounts, but will you come back and talk to us again about the whole issue?
Sure.
Joy, we're out of time, but in closing, quick remark you might like to have with our audience?
Yeah, I will actually stick something in there about the education savings accounts because Chuck is right. When kids are subject to one system of education where whoever in the central bureaucracy decides what every child is going to learn, then you have special interests who are really radical, like these folks, seeking to capture all those kids who are a captive audience. So if you grant people freedom to go to schools where they they agree with the values that are going to be taught, then you diffuse all of this anger and these partisan bickering back and forth. And you give people really the freedom to teach their children as they see fit, and people the freedom to share and discuss ideas rather than this authoritarian clampdown and this pushing around of everybody from one, central dictator or set of bureaucrats.
All right. Chuck, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
We'll have you come back. We'll discuss this more fully on what we can do, the savings accounts.
I'll look forward to it, Tamara. Thanks.
Joy, thank you for the expertise you bring to us from time to time. We look forward to having you back as well. And Common Core, anti-bullying laws, both decrease parental input, increase federal control over the school, and state control over your child and their views. You have to be involved. It's time for you to be engaged. The fight is now, and it's in your backyard. It's in your home. I'm Tamara Scott. Thank you. Be encouraged. Never be complacent.